live in all the right spots?
Hoping so. Yep, I'm seeing some. Yep, popping on YouTube.
Hey, we got to the end of the countdown already.
We got to the end of the countdown already, man. Oh, no. Oh, sorry. Oh, so unprofessional.
Oh, I hear it's in the background.
Yeah, that was me. There we go.
Yeah.
I was making a post, trying to get it shared out there to interwebs. Dude, welcome. Welcome, my brother. Welcome up from all the way up into the frozen north of Alaska. I'm down in the soggy Pacific Northwest where the snow is starting to melt and cause all kinds of mayhem and carnage and sloppiness.
We're having a heat wave here also. Got up to like 33, 34 degrees.
Oh, my. You're sort of melting.
That's actually dangerous, yeah. It gets above freezing. That can be dangerous.
Well, I'm excited for tonight. We're getting into book 3 tonight. When we get into the main section, the main show, of course, folks that are watching, we're watching the Prepped Pastors podcast, and we have got some cool stuff to talk about tonight. I've also going to bring in a new segment, surprising you with. We're going to talk a little bit about. We're going to bring in a little Gear Lab action. Going to talk a little bit about comms. Brought some show and tell radios to talk about.
Outside of the bunker.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the gear outside of the bunker, and then maybe we'll talk a little bit about some other gear in the bunker and those kinds of things. So yeah, hopefully everybody's having a great night. Hopefully you're doing well, and how's your family? Everybody's good and healthy, and they haven't been. RoboCop has not hijacked them with Omnicorp.
We already got the Megatron.
Got the Megatron
back around Christmas time.
Yeah, that's true. That's good. I'm glad to hear. Glad to hear that you haven't had the Omnicorp. I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm ready to go. I met up, had a great consult with my friend. I'll just call him Dr. S. Dr. S was one of those guys that got fired from a hospital because he wouldn't take the ouchie Fauci, and now he's kind of doing the naturopath thing, and so met with him this week. He got me all set up with, the stuff and the things, the nebulizers, the vitamins he wants me on, those kinds of things, just getting ready, everything in place. Some of you might be thinking, gosh, you're kind of late to the party. You wouldn't want to think about that. I was like, well, everybody seems to be getting the Omnicorp right now. So Omnicorp. You remember RoboCop, right? Omnicorp. I like it better. I don't know.
They made more than one RoboCop, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they had a couple RoboCops. Yeah, this is like 2 or 3 or 17. I don't know, but the original one, was about a privatized police force that became like overarchingly. They were creating like corruption. They were creating a drug addiction so that then they could fight that war on drugs. Blah blah blah. All those things. Yeah.
I forgot most of that.
Yeah, man. So it was good. They had that stuff, they had the weird little inhalers kind of I think the Minority Report kind of ripped off the drug platform from RoboCop. Omnicorp turned out that they were creating it. So yeah, anyway, feels relevant for today. And now everybody's coming down with the Omnicorp. So
who knows what those wacky liberals will think of next.
So we got some cool current events, man. We got Bob Saget is dead and gone. Were you a fan? Were you a Bob Saget guy? Were you growing up?
Really.
I liked America's Funniest Home Videos.
We watched that.
My little sister watched the Full House, so I often watched it just kind of peripherally.
I
But I
know
got
what
to
it
tell
is.
you, man, if you listen to any of his stand up or ever read his book, he was a vile human being, man. Like he was
I
not
was
like
gonna
America's
say,
dad.
no, I never made it through any of his sets.
He was
And that's
gross.
saying something. As a combat veteran, I always turned him off.
Yeah, dude, I got to tell you, I have watched his stuff. I mean, you want to talk
Just wasn't
about
funny.
it wasn't funny
Eddie
and
Murphy did raunchy, funny.
it was funny. It was like
Yeah, it was,
I
you
felt
felt
guilty how
dirty
much I
laughing at it.
laughed.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
Delirious, oh my goodness.
Oh,
I
dude.
just heard he was
Yeah.
like 21 or 22 when he did that. Do you
Dude, it was
realize how young
wild,
he
man.
was? It's
Yeah, it's
nuts.
wild. And
Yeah.
then so yeah, so Saggett's gone. Of course, you know, the Omnicorp is sweeping the nation. We got the numbers are just through the ceiling. In fact, actually I saw some numbers out of LA yesterday. LA County had 65,000 teachers and students calling
Cases.
in.
You know, the best
Basically,
part about that is it's almost like a snow day because you're not really sick.
right.
Um, you just can't participate in anything, that scares the liberals. So, if you're a teacher, you get paid to stay home,
Right.
almost like all of
Right.
last year.
Except basically what some of the educators that I follow on Instagram are basically like, if you're not preparing for distance learning, you're a fool. They are going to
You're
shut
gonna
the
get
schools
fooled
back down
again.
again. Yeah, they're going to shut the schools back down again. And I'm like, well, you know what? We pulled my kid out of the communist indoctrination camps. So, but my
Yeah,
wife is
same.
still entrenched as a subversive spy. She's still trying to love people with the love of Jesus inside a communist controlled Pacific Northwest education system. So
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
I just
I got some
realized, go ahead.
I got some flack. What did yesterday? I'll just say this. I got some flack because my wife withdrew herself from the union at the beginning of this school year because the union
Oh, good for her.
didn't fight for its. Yeah, I was proud of her. It was her and it was her deal too. It wasn't like I was like, you need to
Wait,
get out
wait,
of the
wait a minute. Wait a minute.
union.
This is a union that just takes your money and literally does nothing but fight against you.
Oh yeah, it was one of those unions.
That's
Yeah.
right. I thought that was all the
It,
unions.
yeah, basically. And
Basically, yeah.
so anyway, so I got slapped in the mouth last night by someone who I thought was like our friend, whatever, and because she came out and was like, did the whole like, but your wife withdrew her support from the union, and I'm like, yeah, I know. Well, you guys stopped listening to people, anybody unvaccinated. Oh, I said the word. Sorry. Anybody on Ouchie Fauci, you quit defending them because you didn't like them anymore. So you don't get to do that and keep your constituents. So anyway, I was proud of my wife. It was her call. So I didn't show up and be like, you're going to withdraw from your union, but anyway, so yeah, she's still currently employed by the communist dictators. And so we're just kind of waiting for the Lord to tell us when to jump.
Little while longer.
Um, yeah, I don't think it's gonna be much longer. I don't, unfortunately, or fortunately. I don't know how to respond to that. But anyway, so the omnibus is just chugging along. All the data right now. I don't know what you're seeing, but as far as Omnicorp goes, it sounds like it's a blessing.
Well, there's
It
a
sounds
whole
like it's
lot of people apparently who have it, and like I said, they're getting free snow days because they're not really sick if they even knew that they were sick.
right
There's like almost no hospitalizations. There are 0 people on ventilators across the nation
from
with
it.
the
Yeah, from
Omnicorp.
Omnicorp. Yep, exactly.
Um, they're not occupying, if they're in any sort of intensive ward, it's just because of the COVID protocol. It's not because they actually need that level of care.
Right,
So,
right.
um, basically, it's all a big hoax.
Man, I'm telling you, certainly. I think the alpha
I had it.
strain.
It sort of
Right.
sucked for, a couple hours and took Tylenol and I felt fine. Partly because I've already had COVID.
You had it.
Um,
You had it hang around for an extended period of time, but you
right.
still went to work every day. I mean, you didn't call
I stayed
in.
home
I
from
mean,
1 day of work because I
okay,
could get away with it. And I just didn't feel good.
right.
Yeah. And basicically, Willamette Valley, death, murder, allergies is way worse than corona, way
Oh,
worse than the
buddy,
China flu.
you have some incredible allergies. Like they
I'm allergic
level
to
you.
everything in Oregon,
I remember you
from
serving
sage to
alongside me
grass to
at the camp, and
man.
you were just like, "There's so much grass here," and you would just grimace every day they mowed. You would just be like, "They're mowing again. I may die."
That's awful, and that
So,
was on drugs with shots.
and then yeah, that was highly medicated, right? And then of course, I mean, let's just get
Mhm.
into the big one, the elephant in the room. The Supreme Court, I can't get too excited because they left us out in the cold for half of it. But they did strike
Not a yeah,
down.
I mean, a good decision, but not a great decision.
Yeah, good decision, not a great decision. Hold on, I gotta find. I don't. I should know
What do you
this.
got?
Which color is the clappies? Do you remember on the board? Which color is the clappies?
No. Yellow?
There it is. The Supreme Court has ruled in favor of the Constitution. Imagine that. I did see the
Some
Babylon
of
Bee
them.
today.
Some of them, yeah.
Some of them. Yeah, but the other ones we don't care about. But they did rule in favor of medical freedom. You do not have to. You cannot be forced by OSHA to take the ouchie Fauci or be tested weekly. That is
So my
really
understanding is that
good news.
they still allow an employer to make that call. The federal government just can't force the employer. Is
Exactly.
it am
The
I
federal
correct in that? I
government.
think I am.
That I believe that
So it's
is. I
a
believe that
win,
is true. It is a
but,
win. It is not the
one of
win, but
the
it is a win.
one of the largest wins in the ruling is the classification of China flu. And what they basically said is that it is not a
Yes.
workplace safety. It is classified as the common cold in that you can get it at home, abroad, in public, anywhere. And as
Right.
such, the government has no real control
Exactly.
um, outside of healthcare, unfortunately, because, Kavanaugh exposed his liberalism, which we always knew. Um, I don't think any of us were really cheering when President Trump put Kavanaugh up.
No.
We
No.
all
I
said,
don't
"Well,
think he was
that's
a.
quite a compromise."
I don't think he was a sex offender as he was being accused of being. I think that was a snow job. But I do.
He wasn't exactly a
But
great guy, conservative hero.
no, certainly not. I
He was
think he
not
was
a
a. I think he's a
conservative judge.
rhino. I think he's a rhino.
Yeah,
Um, I think honestly, Amy Coney Barrett is more of a conservative, and
boy,
she's
a lot of
still
what
not.
she said in this process was good, really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so far we have a lot of reason to continue to be proud of her.
We got another big case headed to the Supreme Court. What, in about a month and a half? It's a big
Which one
Second
is that?
Amendment deal. So we'll see how they hang tight. But I will just say, like, I think the bigger news in all of this, if
Uh,
we're, so this is our, our current events time. If you're just watching this, we're going to get into our book club and all those things, and we'll
Door messes,
talk about who we are
cameras
in
and
just
mics
a
and
minute.
all
But
that, yeah.
I think the biggest win, or not the biggest win, I think the biggest conversation is the fact that at this moment, we can officially call this a lame duck presidency. He has not been able to accomplish anything. He hasn't been able to pack the Supreme Court. He hasn't been able to kill the filibuster. He didn't get his Build Back Better plan.
I'm still gonna say yet.
Yet, exactly.
He's not officially a
They'll
lame duck
engineer.
until we find a way to beat the cheating midterm,
Right.
and take away the majorities.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. I think
I'm just not sure we're gonna be
that's
able to do it.
yeah, it's going to be tough for sure. So,
So,
but I mean, I think that ultimately, he has not been able to accomplish anything of his in,
like in
entirely
his
leftist
47
agenda.
years, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Really. Well, he got the Brady Bill done for a minute. Whatever, for a decade, but that was not an accomplishment. And then it was so not an accomplishment that they had to rescind it because it was like, you can't quantify that it's made a difference in crime. So sit
Yeah.
down,
I think we
Joe.
can say it made a difference. It was just, a lot of innocent people could not defend
Right.
themselves,
Right.
and, the difference was that good people were hurt by it.
Exactly.
That's what
Exactly.
happens
Good
from
people.
liberals. good people
That's
get hurt.
that's exactly
Evil
right. So
triumph.
anything else in the news today beside that's been sparking off on your radar? I mean,
Yeah, I
what's
don't know. I've been working in the studio all day. I got my bear rug down. I don't have my second camera up. I'd pop over there for you to see it, but we've got the whole standing desk covered in the bear rug and all
nice.
electronics run. It's pretty cool.
That's exciting.
Using a new camera tonight. It's a new old camera, and it's kind of hit or miss here. I think not
Nice.
loving it at the moment, but
Yeah, I'm
somebody
doing
will have to
some
weigh
work.
in and say, is it hanging in focus or not? I really can't tell.
No, it looks good. You look good. I think you got a good setup going, man. I like your
Well,
floating microphone. It's pretty exciting. You got like a
floating
ghost.
microphone's good.
Got a ghost. I was thinking about wrapping some like green painter's tape on mine, just
Yeah,
so that mine could be floating too.
got a bunch of the green and blue gaffer's tape, and it's awesome for that. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, so yeah, up here in the
I'm gonna
busy
do
week
the
for us.
green.
Though,
I'm gonna do the green gaffer's tape on the desk, so
are you gonna
make the
block it out?
desk go away. Yeah.
I don't
I mean,
know.
I'm
It's a
not
good
gonna.
spot to put a book.
It's a good spot to put a book. Got Darth over here. Darth Pastor.
See,
You
I
know.
never can pull out Darth, and you're on the screen that I'm looking at.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
You reference it, and I'm like, what? Yeah.
Say hi to Darth. He's gonna make some. He's gonna make some videos soon. I'm very
Is
excited.
that Darth or is that Z Dog? I
No,
can't
that's
tell.
Darth, buddy. That's Darth, man. That's gonna be Darth Pastor soon.
Z Dog's been coming to his senses here lately. I've noticed
Yeah, yeah, he has.
coming
He has.
around to
He has
waking
been
up
for a
to
while.
the idiocy.
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely. So,
Anyway,
um,
so yeah, I don't know. Big news in Alaska. I don't know. Honestly, not paying
Doris
attention.
Doris Sanchez says hi, Darth. Hi, Doris. And so
What's up?
thanks for saying hi to us. We really appreciate that. All right, so I think we covered the
You
big
guys got empty
major.
shelves like we do?
We got some empty shelves, buddy.
Well, that's the
Yeah,
big thing here. Our empty shelves are artificially caused once again by our neighbors to the south, Kanakistan, who has, as of the 15th, starting
blocked
tomorrow,
highways.
there are no commercial truckers allowed to enter into Canada from the US without proving their 100% vaccine status with all boosters. And as such, 80% of our trucks headed up to Alaska have been grounded.
Delightful,
As truckers
delightful.
continue to say, stop telling me what to do.
Yep.
So,
Bottom line
yeah,
is
we
we
got a
got to
lot of
stop
empty
shipping
shelves
to
up here.
Canada.
Well,
We got to cut their supply
we
chain
built
off
the
if they're
road and
gonna
we
cut off
give them
ours.
money every year to maintain the road. So we need to
Right.
stop allowing Canada to tell us what we can do on the road that we built and continue to pay for. We've been
Yep.
funding that road for coming up on 100 years here.
Do they run that road in the wintertime? Is that still a viable trucking source in the wintertime?
Oh yeah, it's year round.
Is it year round? It is.
Yep. Yep.
So
Not that I would
yeah.
probably choose to do it because, you know,
So I look at
can't
our
go quite
supply
as fast.
chain. I look at our supply chain issues. I mean, like I was in a Rite Aid today. I was going down picking up a prescription and I mean, dude, there was just rows of just nothing.
Really.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what struck me? What's really strange? I was blown away by Pepto Bismol. There was one on the shelf. I was like, man, Pepto
So you bought
is
it,
that
right?
like? Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I didn't need it, but there was only one left, so I bought it.
This is a prep. This is the Prep Masters podcast, man. What else?
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do? And then I was
I've
like,
ended up
because
with a lot of stuff that way. And you're like, well,
so I never
somebody must
wanted
have
my
something I don't know.
prescription. I never wanted my prescription to be at Rite Aid. I was at Bimart and I loved
Yeah.
Bimart because then I could put in my prescription. I could go back and check ammo and I could BS with the gun guy and I could take a look at the new shotgun. Right? You know, I mean, it was
Yeah.
great. And then Bimart sold all of its pharmacies to Walgreens so that they could shut them down. So now there's just this big empty hole in the side of my Bimart, right? And so they were like, well, where do you want to send your prescription? I was like, well, not to Walgreens, like because they were all going to default over to Walgreens if you didn't say something. So I just went to Rite Aid, and so
Right.
twice now Rite Aid has filled my prescription, and then a couple of days later just put it back in inventory when I didn't pick it up within like, 2 minutes. And so I was like, today I was like, I had 20 minutes to kill, and I was like, I'll just go shop, I guess. So I just picked up a couple, like I got some flaming hot veggie straws for the boy, and those kinds of things. Just picked up a couple of deals, and because I'm prepping for the Omnicore, I got a couple pill organizers, so I can lay out all my vitamins and make sure I get all my probiotics and magnesiums and the zinc and the vitamin D. And this is not medical advice; we are not doctors. Those
I didn't
kinds of
do anything.
things.
I just took Tylenol.
You just took Tylenol. That's true. Tylenol and beer. That's how you treated
Yeah,
yours.
yeah, probably. I don't
Ty,
remember
Ty,
taking that much beer, but yeah.
Tylenol and Jameson.
No, we were moved up in the world. Jameson's like, poor man E4 mafia drink. Um, once you grow up in the world, you get up to like Maker's 46 or,
Okay, all right,
uh,
good, very good.
you know,
Little Buffalo Trace or something like that.
uh,
So
all right.
so yeah, man. I mean, I think that the supply chain issues are going to be a problem. I mean, if you're out there, hey, if you're out there in the comment section, you're watching right now, tell us what your supply chains look like. How are you? How are your shops, or how are your store
Yeah.
shelves and all that stuff?
I think it's like I said last week. If you're just noticing the stuff now, it's probably too
Probably
late,
too late. It's probably too
especially if
late.
you need Pepto Bismol.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Last one's gone. You hoarder.
And then also we had a pretty cool development this week, where we got a really random gift from Amazon. We got a really super nice watch box.
I have to give those back.
And Amazon is basically making it nearly impossible for us to return it to them. So I told my wife, I was like, I guess we're keeping this really nice watch box. Just order another. We were trying to get a milk frother for our coffee station, So I was like, whatever. So that's the current events, man. That's the news. I mean, I need to get a logo for the news. Actually, what we ought to do is we ought to do different backgrounds for the news. That'd be cool.
Well, I was just thinking, I don't know if we started swapped or at some point swapped, but our logo's got our heads on the wrong sides.
Here, I can fix it. You want me to fix it? I'm gonna put you. I'll put you. There we go. Here we go. There we go. I don't like it. Doesn't feel right.
You don't like it? All right, we need a vote.
Yeah, we need a vote.
Facebook group or a comment on YouTube.
Right.
And let us know. Should the heads align with the logo?
Should the heads align with the logo? And it's wintertime, so I'm rocking the beard too. So, I mean, I'm normally the kind of the goatee guy. All right, let's change gears a little bit before we get into our.
Oh, you got something else?
Yeah, let's change gears before we get into our main session. I want to talk a little bit about gear. I'm going to start bringing in like a little gear moment as far as things that you might want to be thinking about, especially if you're on a budget. There you go. Hey, that's bunker gear. Put that gear away. They're going to throw us out of here. There's some gear. There's some gear back there. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that gear in the bunker.
I know some people have been pretty concerned about, the deal with Benchmade and the fact that I was never going to be able to replace my Infidel. But I have good news.
Did you find it? Or did you replace it? Oh, you found it. Okay.
No, Benchmade will never get a penny from me ever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not going to throw away any of my current Benchmade knives. They're well-made good knives. I'm just never going to give them money again.
Exactly.
That's why it was a real loss. But no, I found it. So,
got it.
I'm really happy about that. If you know what an Infidel is, that's a big deal.
Oh, man, they're so sweet. I wish I would have purchased one back when I could have purchased one before I would not purchase from them anymore. Maybe I'll buy one from someone on eBay or something like that.
I would consider that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would do that. It's like my wife, she'll buy like Nike and Reebok and stuff like that from the thrift store. She's not going to put money. We don't put money in their pockets directly, but if it's a product that would work well for us and we find it in the thrift store, sure, we'll buy it there.
I think that's solid. I think that's okay.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Okay, so let's we're going to talk a little bit segment that I'm bringing in periodically. We're going to talk about a little bit of a gear corner, especially if you're looking to stock up on things that are coming from I won't say its name. I'll just call it Large Asian Nation. So if you need to buy things that are
It's the same place this flu came from for the last 2 years.
yeah, there's that. They hosted the laboratory. It might have actually come from the
Well, we
U.S.
proved Fauci
designers.
lied back in
Whoa.
February of 2020 and knew that it came artificially from there.
Dude, you posted and
Rand
I
Paul.
stole the best meme, man, when you were like that do
What
you have a history of mental illness? And he's like, well, I have an uncle. Do you have any family history of mental illness? Well, I have an uncle that
There's a
trusts
certain
Dr.
pastor that
Fauci.
you name dropped last week who liked that publicly.
He did like that publicly.
That
I was
was
like,
hilarious. I don't know if he watches us or not, but I'll let you know that was pretty.
that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. That pastor doesn't like a lot of my posts or
No.
yours.
I think most people distance themselves from my post because
Yeah.
I don't treat it as the community forum that they claim
Right.
to be in their tax records. I treat it as the modern Cold War battlefront in our country of the Civil War
Well,
that's currently happening.
that's what it is.
Which
Suck,
what
that's
it
what
is.
Suckbook is. It's the current battlefield. So anyway, I just want to talk a little bit about radios. So I'm definitely looking at buying some way nicer stuff soon, but I just wanted to bring in a couple of things. So this is they look like they're very similar radios. This is what's called an FRS or Family Radio Service, and then this is a GMRS radio. So this one requires an FCC license. I will not acquire that license until the FCC does what they said they would do a year ago. They said they were dropping the price of the license to $35. I will happily buy it when they adjust the thing, as they said they have done, and they have announced about 15 times in the last 12 months that they were dropping the price. So when they do their job, I'll do mine. But anyway, so this is a 5-watt radio. It's like a 0.5 watt radio. These are great for like bopping around the park. Maybe, you're out splitting wood and you got mom's cooking dinner inside and there's a clear line of sight. We've done some testing with these guys and we're getting like, between 36 and 70 miles, on these guys. If you have good line of sight, putting up some repeaters, it's a pretty cool system. So, GMRS, a lot more powerful, a lot more. You don't have to take a test to get into these radios. You just pay for the fee or be a pirate, whatever. I'm not telling you to break the law. I'm just saying that maybe it sort of doesn't matter.
I'm going to get you out of trouble with the FCC real quick. Both of those radios can be custom programmed to be on the FRS or GMRS frequencies, and the output wattage can be turned up and down through numerous
Correct.
programming methods. So
Right.
both of those radios can both be legal to use without a license, and both of them, if you want to equip them, can be illegal and require a ham license.
Yeah. So no, neither of them can require a ham license because neither of those will broadcast on ham, but they will broadcast on FRS and GMRS. They
can be made too. I have the programmer.
The new stuff doesn't even have the chip included anymore. So, but
you can't program those radios.
You can program them, but they do not have the broadcast capability. They don't even have the button for it. So there's not a program for the new stuff. Now, if you're talking about a UV5R that was made pre-2021, yes, you can put them on every single bandwidth.
UV5R. Yeah. And then I've got an older version of that other one that you held up. I don't know what brand that one, or what, I know the brand, but
they're both,
the number?
This is the UV9G. So this one is as far as GMRS radios go, this thing's like IPS waterproof down to like 67. So it's like this thing, you can submerge it for an hour and it will continue to broadcast. These are pretty freaking sweet for $45. Now, I am in talks with a friend of mine who owns a company called Costa Defense, and there's a solid chance that I'm going to be buying a set of like really, really fancy comms, but we'll talk about that in the bunker. But no, if you are thinking about, and you should be thinking about emergency communications, comm stuff, I'm just saying, you might, well, if you can find them, and you can sometimes find them on eBay. But if you're shopping in the website of South America, if you're doing that stuff, the old ones have all been blocked. But
Now's the time to talk about our sponsor, NordVPN. No,
no, we don't have it. I wish. No, we have no sponsors. We have no sponsors. But I'm just saying, if you're talking about prepping and you want to get involved in comms, and specifically if you're a part of my church, if you're a part of my area, we need to. We're working on like forming a little GMRS group, and we've even got some property that has voluntarily said, yeah, you can put a repeater up here. So pretty excited. So think about that. I just wanted to just bring in the gear corner. Like we're going to kind of highlight a little piece of gear periodically. And especially anything made in large Asian nation. If it's made there, I highly recommend, let me say it this way. If it's made there and you need it, buy it before the Olympics. Let me just say it that way. The Olympics is coming up, and I think we have the potential of seeing some really crazy stuff happening with Taiwan and splashback as far as that goes. And not to mention they're falling apart because of the Omicron. And you want to make sure to get what you need out of there now. I was at the doctor yesterday they were trying to order me a new CPAP machine, and they were like, global shortage on CPAPs. Sorry. And I'm like, okay, whatever, don't care. I don't really use it very often anymore, but I want to, they were like, it's time for you to get a new one. I'm like, yes, please. Yep. Let's put that in the preps for sure. Because you can use them for all kinds of things. So anyway, that's current events, the gear corner. In the realm of comms, I have also recently found a really rad company that I like. They are not a sponsor. They are this N9TAX Labs. They make wicked cool, super compact J-pole antennas. Very lightweight, super powerful. That'll screw right into the top of your...
one through my through one of my vests.
Oh yeah. So this one is a like a home. This is a home one. So like this is a big one. So you put this up in a tree or on your roof, on the side of your house. Yep. That kind of thing. This will probably be similar to what we put up on the repeater when we get it built. Pretty low profile. It can blend in really easily. You could strap it to a piece of vinyl gutter or something like that, and it would not be impeded by the other metal. So yeah, things to think about. That actually, the N9TAX Labs, that's made in America. Those guys are wicked cool. You can find them on eBay, or you can find them at N9TAXlabs.com. They didn't send that to me for free. I paid for that with my own money. So nobody can talk crap. Anyway, are we ready to get into our main session tonight, brother?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it, shall we? What up, brother?
Hey.
Welcome to the main session. Welcome to the Prepped Pastors podcast. And big, gigantic, huge, all of the welcomes, all of the best welcomes to our Patreon subscribers. Thank you for your support. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for caring. Make sure that the real Phil has your address and your Patreon account so that he can send you presents. Presents that he continually refuses to send to his partner.
That's true.
Presents he continually refuses to send to his partner.
No.
I'm good. I'm not going to die. I promise. But when I print some Prep Pastors podcast sweatshirts here next month, I'm going to hold them hostage for my stickers.
You should. I don't wear sweatshirts.
You know what? Ah, come on, a hooded sweatshirt, man. You'd rock the house. You'd be PJs.
It's a hoodie?
Yeah.
Oh, I like hoodies.
You do?
Especially if they're made from Woobies.
Ooh. A Prep Pastors Podcast Whoopie hoodie. We should definitely make those.
Yeah,
100%.
if I could finish my laser etch machine, we could make them ourselves, but
Yeah, why don't you finish
we're
that up, dude?
perpetually busy.
So we're in book 3 of the What's Left of My World series. Chad Rudolph, wrote a pretty rad series. I think there's 6 or 7 books that we're going to be going through periodically through this, and then we're going to take, I think, a break from Chad in 2 months, and we're going to switch over to the terminal list, talk a little bit about. Um,
We may have to. Yeah, I don't think we've mapped it out yet. We should be able to get through this series, right?
I think so.
We hear there's another one coming, though, right? Potentially.
That's what I hear, and I hear that our friend of the show, our favorite dude, Mr. Craven,
We need
he's
to have it back
up.
on.
Yeah, we got to get him back on. Hey, Boyd, come on, man, come back on the show. We want you to come visit. Well, I think specifically we'll have him back on the show when he drops book 4, because we'll have a little release party for him. And that'll be way cool. So yeah, man, we're jumping into book 3, and you said it best the other day when we were kind of having a pre-show meeting. We're in the meat now. Like, the first 2 books were about finding characters and building backstories and having those kinds of things.
And we liked them.
Yeah,
and
we liked them.
This lights it off.
This lights it off. This is where the meat of the story begins. This is where all of their preps pay off. This is where they would be up Poop Creek if they didn't have some comms that they had kept in Faraday cages and protected from the EMP event in the book series. And by the way, I do have a couple of hams. I'm going to add a GMRS setup to Faraday box bag setup. So yeah, it's a big.
I've programmed all 3 into mine, and so I just have a 16 channel sequence, and I put the same program in all of mine. But yeah,
there you go. That's exactly right.
Absolutely turned down all the transmitting wattage to under half a watt. All of them.
Of course you did. Yeah, because you want to be legal, and it's going
to
matter.
I have a GMRS license, so I maximized, I think, the 2 watts that I'm allowed to send on that.
Actually, no, you can have up to 50 watts on GMRS now. But these only go. The handhelds only go up to 5.
License. They put it on my license what I'm allowed to go up to, so I'll have to maybe update that.
Yeah, you should.
Renewal.
Yeah. So the big base station radio that I got for Christmas is a 50 watt race, and the license is good for 10 years and for GMRS. And so anyway, So but their preps are paying off. And the real meat of the story is taking off. Take off, Phil. Kick off book 3 for us.
Oh, I was just trying to remember. There's a really long intro, right?
We finally get to see.
So we start off with the intro about the prison.
Or don't we get the EMP in the book in book 3?
There's a pre-EMP prison scene,
right?
And I just can't remember how that ends up tying in later, but obviously, I mean, it's 20, 30 pages, so it's maybe more.
Well, it highlights the fact that they turn those people loose. That's where so much of the evil comes from.
Prison is going to default to doors open.
Yep,
when absolutely the power goes out. That's what they're setting up, and then from there we start to get the backstory of where all this training comes in for Lauren. So it's the first time, that we knew she's got some training. We knew her dad had done some stuff with her. We sort of get introduced to a bunch of characters who are the elite of the elite, handpicked for an end of the world unit.
Speaking of training your kids, that's one of the things I loved about the earlier part of this book is the fact that Lauren's dad. We don't know where or what has happened to him yet. And so hopefully somewhere down the book series, we'll find something out about him. But I love the investment. I love the investment that he put into his daughter, taking her to the range, having that conversation, I think in maybe book 1 or book 2 about hey, would 22 be an effective defense, tool, and, those kinds of things, and having some real good conversations. But also in book 3, you learn that he invested in her martial arts training as a young person, right?
Yeah.
And I am so excited. My kid starts jujitsu on Monday. I am so excited about that. He hasn't had a sport since cross country. I was proud of him. He didn't really want to run cross country, but he did it because we wanted him to be active, and he massively improved over the season. And you've met my kid. He's a tall, lanky kid. He is built like a runner. I mean, like we were like, dude, if you can figure out this running thing, you're going to be great at it. But I'm
Figure out this
really,
coordination thing. Yeah. That's
dude,
what it
he
is
is
for
all
kids. Is they're
asses and
goofy and
elbows.
long and lanky, and they have to figure out how to get everything in motion quickly.
Well,
And yeah,
he is
it's
related
just
to my father, and you've met my father. And my father,
oh,
my father's 6'2", weighs 123 pounds with his clothes on. I mean, he's nothing but
before the
knees,
morning
elbows, and
craft.
assholes.
Yeah.
So yeah. But anyway, so Lauren's training, man. Keep after that piece.
Yeah, it's good. Well, and the sacrifice. There's some unrealistic things that we wouldn't have the story we have, had it not been that way. But the elite of the elite don't choose two random civilians and a young girl to join the team. It's just not going to happen. But it did in this book.
I will say, I mildly disagree with you. In the realm of, because I have had
Yeah, some interactions with some of those types.
deep relationships with a particular pretty elite training school.
Right.
I have watched them adopt certain kids and civilians. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. And I have watched them go,
Fair.
you're in the club. You can come and hang out with us. And every time there was a slot, and every time there was extra ammo, and every time there was an opportunity, they would slide those people in to strengthen the community around them, because they were bringing in, elite training school people into the school, midnight Blackhawk landing in the middle of the field outside of the training facility. But those aren't the people that they're going to live with if SHTF happens, and so they were really very strategic and loving.
To get back there, but yeah.
It's definitely one of my fallback places,
Yeah.
So no, I think that it does happen sometimes. Now, in the context of an active unit, like or dare I say, like an active militia made up of some of the elite, like tier operator people, yeah, probably not. You're probably more right than I am at that point.
Well, I suppose what it speaks to, I'm trying to remember what's the guy's name. So the lieutenant becomes a lieutenant. He's going to run this group, and what he alludes to, I think, with some of the members is that essentially he has someone with some supernatural, nearly abilities and training, and if we foster this incredible talent,
In
we
Lauren,
in Lauren,
yeah,
we could turn her into something amazing, and he puts a group of people together to do that.
Just to pour the training into her.
And I think the point is that she's not average, or even close to average,
right?
And so I could see that happening if you were to run across that, the sort that you take them out shooting for a day and they master a month or two worth of skills,
right?
The sort that just pick stuff up with that natural ability. I could see that happening.
Yeah. I would love for you to stand next to a certain 12-year-old that I may or may not be related to someday on the range, man. I think you'd be thoroughly impressed. So.
Is he smacking down? Because the last time I had a young up and coming hipsicker running youth divisions, I wiped the floor. He had his race gun, and I wiped the floor with him with my little Legion carry.
Well, I mean, I certainly wouldn't stack my kid up, on a competitive level, although he has done some cool stuff he has done
Yet.
some cool stuff shotgun wise,
Ooh,
but I mean,
it's
I'm just
easy to beat
saying
me
that
shotgun.
he is definitely in that realm of like you could go out and in a day like master something that would normally take people a month. Like
Well,
he
that'd be
is
fun.
that
I'm
good.
not
And he's
sure you
so
want me giving him bad skills, but, um,
I know. I wish I do wish we lived a little closer to TR because that would be a way. I'd love for him to go spend a day with Clint or
some kids it
somebody like
just
that.
clicks. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, it
some kids it
does.
clicks. Neither
Yeah,
of mine so far have demonstrated that.
yeah. It was funny. I was talking to just a family friend. I won't even get specific into who it was
Yeah.
because it's kind of one of those things where he was like, hey dad, if we're ever in Portland and we're like boxed in and things, are going really bad, like, am I allowed to like reach over here and acquire this tool? And he's like, son, I'm glad you know where it is. I hope to God you never have to, but I'm glad you know where it is, kind of thing. So, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, we raise our kids. We hope for the best. The best is that they never have to defend themselves. That shooting is always something just fun that they get to go do. But like Lauren in the series,
We're
if
unfortunately, the
shit
generation that
hit the
we're
fan,
training right now, I don't think we have a choice. We're
no,
gonna have to train these ones. We
and
had
they're
hoped
going to get a
not
lot
to.
of training. They're going to get a lot of training in real life. I have a feeling. I
Yeah.
maybe that's a unfair speculation, but I think it is. I think it's a
I think it'd be unwise to not plan on it in this generation.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So,
So, Lauren
yeah,
has the same
Lauren.
thing. Along the same lines as your friend. Earlier in the previous book series or book in the series, her family's involved in a traumatic event where father is forced to defend the family, defend the three of them on a hiking
On the
event
trail.
with a
Yep.
firearm.
Right.
At the conclusion of that event, he gives Lauren that firearm. I believe it's a Glock
Correct.
27, right? It's one of the subcompacts,
Right.
and she can still carries it everywhere.
As a
Underage.
teenager, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
it's
mean, we don't know that she takes it to school. They sort of
right.
imply that she's not, doing things like that. But there used to be a day where that was allowed, sort of with a parent's permission. Actually, in Oregon, I remember growing up, if you had a note from your parent, you could walk around with firearms under
Sure.
18.
Sure.
Transitioning to places where you might use them. So whether you were
Man,
going to the range or the
we had rifles hanging in the back of our pickups at high school, man. Like that was like,
oh yeah,
we
both of us did.
I remember taking my 22 into shop class to refinish the stock.
Sure,
I mean,
those
and
were normal things.
nobody said boo to us. I mean, I got into shop class and my shop teacher was like, "Hey, you need to pull the bolt out of that, because I want to know that it's clear." And I think
Okay,
maybe he stuck the bolt in his desk, like but I mean, but that
that's a
was,
smart thing.
but yeah, we're talking about kids, okay, whatever, I mean, but
Yeah.
like nobody was, monkey finger in the trigger. Nobody was playing with it. Nobody was doing anything with it. It was like, okay, as soon as it got into the wood shop, it was disassembled. It was taken apart.
Hmm.
Put the metal parts were put in my shop locker, and the sandpaper came out. I mean, like the stripper and the sandpaper and the work began. So
I
whatever,
took a
man. I
stock,
mean,
but I just took this. I had already disassembled it and brought the stock when I refinished it in high school.
I think I was rebluing the barrel in metal shop while I was redoing
So
the
that makes
stock
more
in wood
sense.
shop.
Yeah, I didn't get
you know,
checked. But
so
no, that was a very normal thing, and honestly, um, it's not that guns were banned from school grounds first. It's that thefts started to happen first, at least
there
in
you
the
go.
Willamette Valley.
Sure.
So when I was in the Willamette Valley, going to schools that now would lose their crap and lock down a whole city for a 16 or 18-year-old having a shotgun and a 22 in the back window of a truck on school grounds,
We
it
had
was
a
pretty
massive
normal.
lockdown. We had a
I
massive
had a
lockdown
principal
2
that
days
carried.
ago.
Did
Oh
you?
yeah. Yeah, I don't know if my principal carried. I have a
He
suspicion that
showed it
my
to us
vice
when I was a
principal.
senior because it
Oh,
was
that's awesome.
I was a senior and there was another school shooting, um, and he basically said, "Look, I carry every day. Uh, all you seniors that have guns in your truck, defend your school." That was the
Right.
instruction, and
Yeah.
That's how initially for the first several school shootings in the '90s, that's how it was handled in most schools.
Right.
A
Absolutely.
serious meeting with the seniors of the school that said, "Defend your school. Don't let
Yeah,
that happen here."
absolutely.
So, it really
Well,
only even happened in liberal cities,
my
well,
wife
from
was
what I
even
recall.
my wife was even telling me that she's got a coworker that was like, man, she just moved here from another school district in the state that
Mhm,
that had a completely different mindset where they were like they took classes on how to defend their school and how to, and so they had like action plans when they went into lockdown. And so this teacher's like actively is like, okay, if someone breaches that door, this is what we're going to do. These are the weapons we're going to use in this room. You can use chairs, fire extinguisher. There's, I mean, like,
mhm.
by the way, put a fire extinguisher in every single classroom that your kid goes to.
Great point.
Especially elementary school kids, because man, that's the one self defense tool that nobody will ever say boo about. And I've probably said it on the show before, but they every teacher I've ever handed a fire extinguisher to goes, oh well, we're really not supposed to. We just have to get the kids out. I was like, this is not about fighting fire. This is about shoot them in the face with the white stuff and smack them in the teeth with the big red can. That is what that thing is. Oh, I get it. Yeah, put it under your desk, strap it to the wall. I don't care. It belongs to you. When you leave, take it with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to like give your kids a fighting chance, put a fire extinguisher in their classroom. That's what I'm saying.
Or, do what we're all doing now, which is homeschool your kids.
Or do what we're doing now, get your kids out of the communist indoctrination centers
Yeah.
and
That had to
educate
be
them.
explained to a teacher, was the writing on the wall that, yeah.
Well, a couple of the teachers that I explained it to, they were absolutely about it. Like they were like, "Oh, that's a great idea." One of them was like,
Mhm.
"Hey, teach me how to carry." I mean, like whatever. I mean, that was a whole different school though. So yeah, I think that it's one of those deals where you got to be really careful with what you can't get away with having a baseball bat in a classroom anymore. But nobody is going to freak out over there being a fire extinguisher in a classroom, even if a kid deployed it. Even if a boneheaded kid deployed it, went and made a mess, and it had to be cleaned up, everybody would be like, that was dumb, Johnny. Don't do that again. So back to Lauren. Let's get back to Lauren. That was a good tangent.
Yeah, they don't talk much about her school, other than he takes
No,
her out of school to give her some proper education she's clearly not getting in school.
right?
And they make a point in noting that he's comfortable doing that because she's a straight A student, because she's all caught up. She's not struggling. Missing a day doesn't affect her academically at all.
Correct. Correct.
But um, what else do we have? So there's the prison thing. So we're setting up the prison, and then we find
Yep.
out Lauren's training, which they go back and forth. We find out she's got some sniper training. She's got a whole lot of hand-to-hand combat training.
Yep. She's got some
Um,
TCCC training, so she's got a little bit of medic stuff going on, things like that.
right.
It's
Which is why
so
I go back to, it just doesn't match up to me with the Lauren in book 1. Some of her decisions and reactions to me don't make sense given the training that we start to find in book 3 and 4, which is something I'd love to ask Chad is, did you write book 1 and then decide to, expand the rest of the story a couple books later,
see,
or
I interpret that as that she's got the training, but she's a child. And I feel like it was just it took her a while to tap into her knowledge. Like it took her a while for her to kick into the real killer instinct of it, and to push through the PTS of the initial moment, those kinds of things. So I get where you're coming from. I guess I just interpret it as she just moves from child with great training to young adult with great training that has now had to put it to work, and it's starting to
Mhm.
take root in her.
Maybe, but that shift definitely does happen.
It does.
There's a discussion, I think it's with her sister on a hike, where she talks about how she's rounded a corner, and
Yeah.
the regret and the traumas of taking life, and is kind of disappearing.
Yeah,
She's
and
becoming
her sister
hardened.
has not rounded the corner. Her sister is, you know,
No,
we kind of find
but we
out
see
in
her
book
sister
3,
finally take a life.
right?
She saves
Yeah,
Lauren's butt.
that's true. That is true. And
Lauren might have had it, but
we find out that her sister, and I don't know, as much as I like Chad's writing, I don't know that he
yeah,
did a great job explaining the sister was kind of a from a previous
previous marriage.
relationship, a previous marriage, and so she for the most part lived with mom, and it was kind of a big deal as far as that goes. So that she was even visiting the day of the EMP, and she
I think some of that
realized like,
story gets teased out. Yeah,
yeah, this piece of my family is the right family to be with during this thing. And so she stays and sticks it out.
right.
And she doesn't turn the corner, I think, turn her own corner till like, I think book 4 or book 5.
Okay.
But that, you know, we'll get into her story, you know,
Well,
later.
I was trying to remember. So I didn't get to the end of book 3. I'm uh, on this second listen, so I'm having a hard time remembering where it cuts off because
Right.
there's two big confrontations that are kind of coming. Um, and the one happens because of the second, but I've kind of headed off right as they're going to go seek medical attention to figure out
Right.
basically, we assume that poisoning comes from the the government entity, right? But
Right.
I can't remember if we find out that it actually ends up being the takers.
No, it is the government. No, because at this point we see that they have been, you know, they've been watching them with the drone.
Because takers take
They
advantage of the situation.
Yeah, they for the most part wipe out the takers in the last big taker battle. And so
Spoilers
it
not
is
approved.
absolutely it is yeah, we do find out later in book 3 that so the poisoning that Phil's talking about is they start polluting the water supply, they start polluting and really it's the government, because remember the government at this point is trying to scare people into the FEMA camps, right? So
Yeah,
they've utilized a biker gang that Lauren and the other citizens of Trout Run Valley completely wipes out, right? They win they
right.
win the day in that battle, and then the big battle is coming with the feds, like the government that doesn't want people being able to be self-sufficient. They don't want people
Right.
to be able to grow their own food or harvest their own game or make their own jerky. They want us totally dependent on them, right? And so they in the book they start poisoning the water, they start poisoning the game, and a handful of people, including Lauren's sister, get very, very ill. And
Yeah.
they're
We
on
do lose
death's
some, I
door.
think.
Yes, they lose, yeah,
The
one or
brother, right?
two in one of the peripheral families. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And so yeah, and then there was a moment, I believe toward the end of book 2, where a little girl is returned to an off-grid family that's been living in the woods for a while. Which,
That might be in this one
by
too. That's right.
the way, did you see that in the news this week that
No.
that an off-grid community in the Appalachian Mountains was discovered recently, that they've been out there for like a
Couple
long
generations.
time? Yeah, a
Good
couple
for them.
generations. They've been living out there in the middle of nowhere for a while, and I'm
You
sure the
know,
federal government
there are
showed up and was
places that
like, "You got to
Rose has
get your
forgotten.
ouchie Fauci," you know.
Yeah, that's probably why they're there.
Yeah, they
Well,
probably are there for
don't eat
that
the
reason.
salad.
Don't eat the salad. Close to home for me, man. That's some wild, wild country stuff right there.
Hey,
Um,
nice to live in a place where you could grow gardens like that, and like they said, it's getting back to colonial times
yeah,
at that point. Um, and you grew gardens for more than food.
right.
Um, and not all medicines were meant to do positive things.
That's exactly right. And so this gal who they return this little girl to her mom, okay? And that's at the end of book 2. We really didn't get into that too terribly much, and
Right.
so
The
it's
return
just sort
happens
of
in
a
book 3.
it's sort of just a peripheral part of the story. And then in book 3,
I know.
they have to
Yeah.
go seek help from this naturopath living in the woods,
Right.
and
Right.
she's got all the remedies and the know-how. And if you're forming mutual assistance groups, we call them MAGs, right? If you're forming one of those, you need somebody on your team that knows their plants and their mushrooms and their foraging and all those
In
things.
your
And
local area.
that is not me. I'm the tech guy. I want to talk about
No.
radios. I want to talk about tools of these things here. I want to help and talk about those kinds of things. I need people around me that are like, oh, these leaves you can grind up into aspirin, right? Like, I'm not that guy. Are you?
Right.
Are you that guy? Are you more in that realm,
No.
Phil?
No. I have books. I've gone to great pains to get
I have
local
books.
books, but local for Alaska is just such a big place. Um,
Oh
and a
yeah.
lot of that knowledge has been lost to the generations of the native corporate or native communities that have kind of lost their knowledge base now.
Lost is
I
such a
had
generous.
that.
Lost is such a generous word. Let's be honest.
That's
It
true.
was stolen and destroyed.
Democratic government
And
of
Christian
the liberal
missionaries.
persuasions, which again, I mean, Democrat liberal persuasions are Christian missionaries a lot of times, because they're
Sure.
all about that vacation mission trip,
Oh yeah, buddy.
and it's called Toxic Charity. But great book if you ever want to,
Yep. It is a
get what
great
we're
book.
talking about and the damage that people have done in the name of Christ.
Yep.
It's not just through being hypocritical; it's through being incredibly selfish and having absolutely zero depth to their faith.
By the
Um,
way, Phil and I are pastors, but the fact of the matter is we are very hard on our own family.
we might be a little salty about it
We are
because
just a
I'm tired of
little
people doing damage in the name of Christ. There's
absolutely,
an organization
absolutely
that sounds similar to that. Hmm. Anyway,
damage in the name. Anyway, sorry.
yeah. Anyway, moving on. Uh, you won't see either one of us defending those that go
No,
around
we won't.
and play vacation ministry.
No,
Um, it's just inappropriate, and it never existed in the history of the world
no,
until our country started doing it about 10, 20 years ago,
no. Honest to goodness,
30 years ago. Yeah.
I would go
Other
as
than that,
far
we had
back as like
dedicated
30 or
missionaries that
40
went and
minutes.
did stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
but what we're
yeah.
getting at is the native communities have lost generations of knowledge because their kids were literally taken away from them. The elders were allowed to die off if they weren't killed off.
Yep,
And by the time they came back, there's a whole generation missing, and that included languages,
correct.
and local medicinal
Histories,
skills of the local area. So there's a lot of
right,
local area skills we just don't have.
right.
I have some of that in Oregon and Idaho. I understand those areas quite well. So where that
Yeah,
overlaps with my area, I've got it pretty good. I had a great aunt that was a registered nurse and kind of a homeopath um,
okay,
in pre World War II, and she knew the area that our family was from in Idaho, how to handle those things, and I retained at least less than 1% of what she taught
okay,
me.
yeah.
So, which is probably more than some.
Which is probably more than some.
So
And the
I
nice thing about
I
it
prep
is the
medicine.
Lord. You gotta remember the Holy Spirit has the ability to remind us what we've learned in the past, and so
Good
it's
for
it's in
people
there.
with
It's in
traumatic
there.
brain injuries. That's helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. So I think that we
I hoard,
find,
you hoard
if we,
medicines, don't you?
sometimes there's some of that happening. Okay, so it's funny because some of the guys that I kind of just watch and peripheral take a look at, you call them like alarmists and things like that. I actually there's one that we disagree on. I don't think Southern Prepper One is an alarmist, but I do. There is a guy that I've been watching. I'm not even going to name him.
Okay.
That is 100%. I mean, he's just like every day. It's like, and today is the day the
The
world
sky's
ends
falling
because of
every day.
these
Yeah.
things. Yeah. It's just like, dude, the sky's not falling every day. But
This guy's
I
been
watch
falling
him.
for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's been falling for a while. I watch the guy primarily because I like to see what the crazy side of us is talking about. Second of all, I laugh at him a lot. And then
Yeah.
thirdly, he actually does bring some decent resources to the table. And he was talking about a group of doctors that are doing teleconferencing, teleappointments with folks, and then stalking them, and
Oh,
basically doing the like prescribing every like
the meds that you
an
need and what you might
antibiotic
have
that you
to.
could ever possibly need for anything, and then the maximum number of them, and
Start
here's the
putting some
whole
years away. Yeah.
start putting some years away. And it's funny because I talked to I'll refer to him as Dr. S, right? And he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Because he doesn't like antibiotics and he doesn't like big pharma and he doesn't like those things. I'm like, listen, neither do I, and I don't run to antibiotics, but I would like to know that I have enough, in my bag if someone gets a gunshot wound, or someone gets a major cut that I can treat an infection, those
Right.
those kinds of things. And so, and he's just like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. So I may actually do a consult, like it's like $250, and you get to meet with an actual real doc, and then you kind of go through your history, and he's like, okay, these are the antibiotics that I would prescribe for you for various situations, and you get all of them, go. And we might very well may do that. But that, if
Hmm.
we have a real systemic collapse, that's not going to last for very long. And the shelf life of them are only like 4 or 5 years, so
Yeah, that's what I was going to get at. Yeah. If you don't know
yeah.
how to kind of source those things in your local environment, they're not going to be as good as the refined pharmaceuticals.
No,
But
exactly
when
right.
but when you run out of those, you know, I,
But
I
don't for
I'm still not going to go march to a camp
no,
to get help.
not going to get in the bread
So
line. I'm not going to get in the
we've
bread
got
line. I'm not
camps
going
and
to.
lines that are being run by the occupying government. Um,
Yeah.
while we're still running around in the woods and trying to give them a hard time until we die.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it'd be nice to have the ability to keep running.
Yeah.
But
So I think that that's going to be a big.
those are
It's going
things
to be
to
a big.
consider.
Yeah, there are things to consider, and so because I don't, and that goes back to the book, because I don't have like a garden lady like they do here
Mhm.
on Trout Run Road, and um, so I feel like, and again, I mean, if the Lord releases us, He hasn't yet, but if the Lord releases us to go back to our where we want to be, I'm gonna have to build an entirely new network. I mean, I've got folks that I know, but like I'll start mag building from scratch.
That
So
starting over thing is it's
it's
tough.
tough. It's tough, but it's in a region that I actually want to be in. It's in a place I can grow food in the ground. It's in a place that I've, free land is a nice thing. So those kinds of situations. So anyway, I think that it's wise to, if you can stockpile meds, if you can tuck them away, pay attention to where the expiration dates are, and know that big pharma doesn't want you to know that their lifespans are actually quite a bit longer than they say on the bottle, but they will diminish in efficacy the further down the road you get. So,
And that's where the danger comes is when you're trying to guess how diminished and how do we dose now and diminished.
right.
If you're dosing yourself, you need to just be really careful.
Yeah,
You
you
need
can burn
to
up kidneys,
so
liver.
if
Yep.
you've never heard of it, you need to get yourself a PDR. It talks about
Yep.
drug. It identifies drugs, so when you find your random pills, you can identify what the pills are.
Right.
Um, and
If they
then
have a little smiley faces or skulls and crossbones on them, those are not
they're
the ones
not a
you want
thing.
to take. Don't do
Yeah,
that. Don't do that.
you need to be able to identify pills, and you need to, um, do the job that the doctor you've removed from the equation was supposed to do, which is to research the interactions and negative side effects, and whether you're going to take two pills that are going to kill you. Um, you know,
Right.
we lost Heath Ledger to that, and we've lost a number of people over the years
Yep.
to making mistakes about crossing drugs that you wouldn't necessarily think about.
Right.
not all different types of drugs can be the same. So
Exactly.
get you a PDR, and if it's on your phone, it's no good to you. So get a
Yeah.
printed one.
Printed one. They're usually big fat books. You want to think about getting a different one every couple years because
They
everything
do update.
changes.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't remember. I have never bought one in print. I do an ongoing um, subscription, and I had to show credentials to get it. So, do you run one? I run one on my chaplain phone. So, when you're doing suicide intervention, being able
Right.
to identify pills and know max
Right.
doses and things like
Yep.
that is really helpful.
Yep.
Because sometimes you find out what they took, you find out how much they took, and you read all that and you go, okay, they're gonna
Yeah.
pass
Do
out
we need an
soon.
ambulance or do we need to
And
run?
they're gonna be just
Or
fine.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
or yeah, or we need to start taking measures right now to empty that stomach, or
Right.
the answer is not always empty a stomach. Sometimes it's running an antidote or other types of
Yeah.
interactions. But
Narcan or something. Yeah. Yeah. Those
right, right,
kinds of
right,
things. And so you kind of got to know what's going on.
you do.
So,
So,
yeah.
but I was able to just show chaplain credentials to be able to get logged in and get that subscription.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the same thing for me as that goes. But everybody kind of knows a nurse, those kinds of things. Like it's not illegal to have a book.
No, no, nothing wrong with having a book.
No. So and you can usually
I
get
trust the
you
book
can get
over trusting the nurse.
yeah. Well, there's that.
Not
So
all nurses. It's not what they're trained to do. That don't expect them to know how to do it.
yeah, it's absolutely no, it's absolutely true. And
Some
and and
nurses
I'll,
have
and
trained a
and the
lot.
same thing goes for a lot of doctors, right? Doctors that haven't
Absolutely.
actually, they got a lot of knowledge in their brains, but they don't know what a pill looks like, and they don't know what they got to go check their drug interactions and stuff because they. If we're
Well,
being
a
honest, most
good doc
doctors
checks it every
have
time, but
have
yeah,
a short list of drugs that they prescribe, and
they know them well.
if it doesn't fit inside of those things, then they're pretty stumped.
Oh, well, the good ones know where to go to find those answers, but yeah,
Exactly.
don't expect them to have it memorized on the spot.
Well, it's a lot like pastors, and biblical knowledge. It's
He
not about having it memorized.
I don't know what
It's about knowing where to find it.
my my 20 some verses is probably closer to 10 now that if you're not
You
actively using them, you'll
you
sort of
have been hit
forget
on
them
the
unless
head.
you need them. But
You have
yeah,
been
I've
hit
been
on the head
quite
once
a
or
few
twice,
times.
dude. It's cool.
That's true.
You get space. You have
I have a
grace for
lot of
that.
notes in my Bible. I have
And I
tabs.
have a lot of my I know how to find stuff. I'll be like,
Yeah,
oh, it's on the left hand page in the right column. It's highlighted in green. It's in Matthew. And I'll find it that way. I mean,
yeah.
but I don't do chapter and verse, man. That's not how I roll.
Uh,
So if I need that kind of grace for me in my life and what I do, then we've got to be able to extend that grace to doctors too. But I think
yeah.
ultimately what we're trying to say here is inside of the conversation of preparation, you really want to make sure that you've got somebody on your team and or a library available to you to be able
Get some basic training in how to read that library. So you know how to read a PDR because you've done a wilderness EMT school,
right.
right?
That's right. That's exactly
Right.
right. Yeah,
So
don't think that. Yeah, if you buy that book or get the app, don't think that you can just open it on the day that crisis is happening and know how it
figure
works.
it out. Right.
Yeah, I remember actually. I was probably the first person in Lakeview, Oregon, to have an iPhone, or like a smartphone. And I remember when I was chaplaining back in the day, when all the officers just had dumb phones, flip phones, and we
Yeah.
were on a call, and there was a
Indestructible
pile.
phones. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a pile of pills, and I was like, oh, I can just look this up right here. And I was like, oh, hey guys, that's what this pill is, and they were like, what? And they so
Magic.
they were very, very impressed, and I think most of them all had smartphones very, very shortly after that. So it was pretty cool. I felt it was a little bit of a flex. It was a tech flex for sure. I like the
Well,
tech
there
flex.
used to be, oh shoot, I'm gonna butcher the name of it. So the quick cheat sheet. Um, I can't remember what they called it. And so every profession's got quick reference books.
Yeah.
to look stuff up on, and medicine the same way. But officers in Oregon, there was a company for a while printing a little book that would fit in your cargo pocket, and it had
Oh
like
yeah.
all the ORS statute, right? It had everything you needed in
Yeah.
there. And so I remember similar in that same transition as when there got to be an app for that and putting it all on your phone. And
Right.
leasing has changed a whole crap ton in the last 20 years.
Sure. Oh, absolutely it does. I mean,
It's
the
nuts.
fact that you can have a supercomputer in your pocket, that changed everything.
Well, and just the connection abilities and telecom and,
Oh yeah.
some for the good,
MDT,
mostly for the good, I
MDTs.
think. But
Yeah,
I don't
mostly
know
for the
how
good.
everybody feels about body cameras. I don't know. Again, my knowledge base of how many cops I know is less than 100, and for you, it's probably a lot more.
Yeah.
Um, and really only a dozen on an intimate level that I, you know, can speak with any knowledge about. Um, every single one that I knew was all about body cam.
Oh yeah. Everybody, every good cop, I think, every good
Nobody was really all that scared of it. I mean, you were
they
kind of
were they were
concerned a
all
little
like,
bit about the whole, like, going to the bathroom things and, some
yeah, that
privacy, and
stuff's
what about when I'm, trying to talk to my wife on the phone? There was a couple of those concerns, which quickly got solved.
yeah,
Um,
it did.
I think there was some
Um,
pains early on.
but I think good cops. I think they've found that it's by far more positive and defends them more than it ever would be condemning. And yeah, I think it's important. I think it's important. Shoot, I think teachers should have to be wearing body cameras.
I saw that the other day, yeah, somebody said something about teachers should wear body cameras so that they can see how their kids behave, and I agree with that 100%, but,
But I also want to be able to
doing
watch
it
how the teachers behave.
exactly, and I think there's a whole lot of kids in homeschool this year because they saw just how completely inadequate the teachers were behaving
100%.
last year and mine, at least it was
Sure.
for us. I mean, you sort of write off the first couple of emails full of incoherent sentences and misspelled words, as going, I don't know, maybe it was quick, maybe an assistant did it. I don't know, maybe they have like a fifth grade TA or something, right? That wrote that letter.
Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
no, then when you interact with the teacher, you find out they really can't write in a coherent sentence and spell
Yeah.
any words correctly. You have to
It's
really
like, man,
wonder how that
I thought you
happens.
had to. I thought you had to pass classes to do this.
Well,
Yeah.
hey, we know there's good teachers out there. We just don't call them teachers anymore. We call them educators.
Correct.
There's still some educators out there, and we're not throwing shade on the educators of the world. I'm
Correct.
here today, and so are you, because of some really good educators in our
Saved
past.
my life.
We know there's good ones out
S-
there,
Saved my life. Literally.
but I'm sure having a hard time running into them these days because I think a lot of them left.
Well, and I think a lot of them, unfortunately, they would run off a student like Lauren because they would try to woke them to
Not an
death.
educator, a
And
teacher,
yeah, yeah,
right?
exactly. And I think that when they lost my headphones. Sorry. Um,
Yeah, when they saw an infidel knife in a pocket clip, they'd suspend her from school. When they heard
sure.
that she defended herself in a school party where she was being beat up and she stood up for herself,
Yeah.
they would suspend her from school, because what they would do is allow the male character in that story who continues to prey on little girls. They would just transfer him to another school and allow him to
Let
prey
him
on
let
more
him prey on
girls.
little girls. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
100%. Yeah,
Especially if he
that's
puts like
exactly
a
right.
skirt on.
Yeah. Especially that.
Right.
Yeah. All he has to do is
They got
change
their
his
day in
pronouns
court.
and he gets free pass to
So
abuse people.
we're talking about Loudoun County was what we're
Yeah,
alluding
Loudoun
to.
County.
That's
Yeah.
Loudoun County, and there was a ruling this week. A judge
Oh, was there?
removed that 15-year-old from public schools and has, for the first time in that court's history, required an underage male to register as a sex offender.
Wow.
So that was groundbreaking.
Now
The
when do the administrators and school board get charged as complicit and negligent?
Really, really
That's the real
hoping that's
question.
going to happen. In the course of the trial, we find out there's a third victim that is yet to be identified and not come forward, but it's on the record now, and the judge acknowledged that there's definitely a third victim. Um,
Wow. Which means that the judge
three
has had
underage
to.
girls. The
Wow.
judge also admitted that the school's actions of covering it up are the direct reason why the second one happened. So the
And the
third one
third,
was
most
actually
likely.
much prior. Well, the third was prior. So the second one
Oh,
that
it's
we know
prior.
about was actually the third, is the point.
So
Um,
there will be negligence, and there will
the
be
case is
some.
there for a lot of money to transpire now. The case is there for the school administrators and some teachers and the principals, at least, to be held accountable financially. That district is going to pay out millions of dollars, as they should.
Hopefully board
Um,
members too.
yep. So
I think
people
I think
covered
we've
it up.
gotten to the day and age, and this is where things get kind of personal for me. But we've gotten to the day and age that these board members must pay for their crimes. They must pay for their crimes. They are absolutely complicit in the destruction of our country, and they must pay for their crimes.
Yeah, no crimes are actually being committed. Grooming crimes, other
100%.
crimes of racism is really
Well,
running
negligence
rampant
is a
from what I
crime.
can see.
Dereliction of duty is a
It
crime.
is. Negligence
Professional
is
misconduct
the
is a
crime.
crime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think when you play games with children's lives, that is minimum professional misconduct, negligence most likely, and yeah, they should have to pay. They should have to pay dearly for it.
Well, when people in the community or even from within, as we get back to educators versus teachers, educators bring up the things that are wrong, right, within the community,
Right.
but within the district. And when they're shot down or fired or have repercussions
Yep.
from administrators and school board, that's when they move on to other places, get out of it.
Yep.
Um, Otherwise, they're no better than anybody else. Because if you know about it and you don't do something, you're just as bad as the rest, in my
Right.
book. I don't
Right.
care if you tried. If you didn't get it done, you there is no try.
There
Right?
is no try.
What's the Yoda? There is no try.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Do or do not. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. I really just needed you for the Star Wars reference.
Right.
Because I know you're
That's all.
eating yourself alive going, I know of 10 of these cases in my local district. Like,
Oh yeah,
can't
man.
talk
It's
about it.
awful. It's yeah. And you're
It's
exactly right.
everywhere.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
maybe just your district. You think it's just your area. It's not.
It's not.
It's
And that's
just
why
about
people have to
everywhere.
start speaking out. People have to start telling their story. People have to start screaming from the rooftops.
Right.
I mean, I've got, yeah, I mean, I can't, as a pastor, I can't get into too many details, but I got families that are just, their guts are getting torn out because, you know, what do they do? The system has created, you must have a dual income household to survive in this world right now, especially
Mhm.
the one thing we didn't talk about in the current event section in the pre-show was the fact that inflation has taken a record high, 7% at this point.
They
In the
admitted 7% in December. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, at this point we are, so if your company's not offering you a 10% raise, you're not getting a raise, right? If you're getting maybe a cost of living bump, maybe, I might get a cost of living bump, maybe, but probably not. I mean, I've been a pastor here at this local church for 4 years. I haven't taken a cost of living bump yet. So, you think about where I am and the fact that there's been, 1 and 2, 3 levels, 3% of inflation every year. And you could probably tell us more about what the average inflation is, but now we're seeing 7%, and so, man, it's breaking the backs of people. It's really, really, really making
We've
it.
seen this before in other countries.
In other countries, we saw a big gigantic spike of inflation when you and I were kids in the 80s. With the
The
and
whole
there's
world
some there
went
was
through
some
one. Yeah.
yeah there was some gas shortages and those kinds
We're
of things.
a bit more stable than most countries and rode through it for
Well,
various
yeah.
reasons. It killed Mexico.
Oh
That's when the
yeah.
new peso came.
Yep.
I don't remember. Somebody could probably comment. Was it 1,000 pesos or 10,000? It was some ridiculous amount, and that happened in
Oh,
the
it's
early '90s, I
crazy.
believe. They had to switch
Yeah.
over to the new peso.
Yeah.
I've got a bunch of funny money from Saudi Arabia,
Yep.
spending time over there. That's worthless now because it's been split and everything else.
I've got some
Kuwait.
lei left from
I was just thinking
Romania when I was there.
I have some stuff from Romania. Um, I think it was a
Their money
different.
was made out of
They
aluminum.
went through a couple of different types of money though,
Yeah,
over the time that you were there versus when I was there.
right,
The last time I was in Romania, I think, was 2008.
right. Which would have been yeah, yeah. Because I was in the last time I was in Romania was well, it would have been around 2008 actually. So yeah.
Yeah. I tried to
Um,
at that point when I was traveling across Europe, I was trying to grab euros because I knew that was the only thing that was going to be worth anything to trade back.
oh, sure, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and everyone took it.
No, and honestly, in the context of readiness and preparedness and those kinds of things, like
You need some cash.
if you're not watching inflation, like you better, I
Yep.
mean, you better open your eyes and pay attention. I mean, I can't stress it enough. You buy some
Be
gold,
careful about your
buy
debt,
some silver.
but if you're smart about your debt, um, you get the right interest rate. You know, with inflation rates as high as they are, it's enough to start covering 2-3% interest rates,
Sure.
that you can purchase something and pay it back with essentially what's less money later.
Yeah.
Um, that's what,
Yep.
a lot of smart
It's
people
why I
do. You
bought the
just have to be
truck.
careful not to get overextended.
Yeah, it's why I bought the truck this fall. Yeah, that's why I bought the truck this fall. Yeah.
So,
So,
yeah, I'm almost at the point now where I have enough cash on hand to pay off whatever debt we are carrying.
which is wonderful. You guys are out of your vehicles, right? You guys are out of vehicle debt now. You're squared away for a long, long time there, right?
Yeah, so the deal for us, on vehicles, we did purchase some brand new vehicles that we could depend on, and we got 0 and 1.9 or something percent interest, but immediately turned around and leased them. So, they were
Right.
covered, and, you just have to be careful when you're gonna take on something like that. Actually, I'm still we're we're seriously contemplating a sale. We might
Yeah.
retool.
Yeah.
So I have offers. We've got a pickup truck that right now, because of COVID pricing, I have offers that are essentially what I paid the dealership for it new, and I'm getting pretty tempted
Hard to
to
not
do
buy
that.
something. Hard to not sell it at that point, man.
If
Then
we
you're
can find
tempted.
something to retool into, we
Yeah.
might do it.
Yeah. Wow, that'd be rad, dude. Yeah, that's the problem is where's the inventory? What do you replace it with? You know?
Have to retool in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. What
That's what
what
we're
what
looking into.
what what are you dreaming about? What would be a good retooling for you guys? Some kind of larger SUV kind of scenario?
I have to maintain the ability to tow 10,000 pounds or a little
Yeah.
more. So
Yeah.
that makes a more narrow category of
Big
only
old
certain vehicles.
big old
In
excursion.
Alaska, we've got to have some ground clearance and obviously either all wheel or 4-wheel drive.
Right.
And you need to have
Right.
some weight if you're towing that sort of a level of vehicle. And then I'm not a
Sure.
fan of vehicles that when they hit moose, kill the occupants inside. So
Yeah.
um, that is narrowing the choices down to certain categories. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, I won't go much more into that in a public broadcast, but
Oh yeah,
um,
yeah. Yeah.
that's
No.
bunker talk for me.
Bunker talk. We can talk picking vehicles for the upcoming scenario in the bunker. That'd be a really
These
good
guys have
talk to talk about.
vehicles in this, so, that's one of the things they have. They have a local, shade tree, who can work magic with vehicles and get vehicles back running again.
Yeah, I
Um,
wish they would have let that guy be a little bit more. I wish Chad would have made that guy a little bit more of a prevalent person. You
I
know what I
think he
mean?
ends
Like
up being
he's
killed off, isn't he? Is he one of the ones that gets killed off in this, big encounter at the end of book 3?
I think
I
so.
could be wrong.
Yeah.
I could be wrong
No,
because
I
a
think
couple
you're
of
right.
members of that clan go with, and I
Yeah.
think they're essentially all wearing red shirts.
For those of you who don't know, that's a Star Trek reference right there. Yeah. So,
We'll get our
and
references in.
when you watch the old Star Trek, anybody wearing a red shirt is probably going to get killed that episode.
Gonna get killed on the away team. Yep.
Going to get killed on the away team.
Yep.
No, Charles. We loved him. No, Frank. We loved him.
So where do we end this book then? Are they, 'cause I don't wanna throw my ideas out because I didn't listen to the very end.
Right. I think we'll wrap up book 3 next week,
You
and
want
then
to do it
we'll
next week?
probably wrap up. We'll wrap up book 3 next week, and probably start book 4 next week. We can next week can be a hybrid version where we do a little both
Okay.
and.
All right. So
But
where
I
we're
think
at
this
right
is a
now, then we'll just say is they're ponying up. They're headed out. They're going to get doctors and medicines. They got to solve this
yep,
situation.
yep,
And then Michelle, right, the mom,
Michelle,
Lauren's mom,
yep, yep,
books it back into the woods to meet up with her new friend with the gardens.
yep,
And
yep, and it's a big
what
deal. It's a big
happens
deal.
then?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Will be book three
and
because it
then the
spills into book four,
response.
right?
And then the response, yeah, and then the response of the government when they essentially don't just lay down and die from the poisoning
Yeah.
in the end of book 3. We'll talk about that next week, but they are not pleased. Let me just say it that way. FEMA is not pleased that they didn't just roll over like they should have, like good little doggies, which is what their
And
expectation of us is. Their expectation is that we would roll over like good little doggies, show our belly, get in the bread line, go get on the bus, go to the camp. That's what they want. I was just listening to Bear Independent talk about that. He was up in arms because there was a big flame up this week because there is a law on the books in Washington that the Washington legislatures were discussing not reactivating, but utilizing to be able to scoop up people and forcibly quarantine them. And it's a real deal. You can find it on ledge.wa.gov. Excuse me. It's a bad deal. It's in its current context, it's a bad deal. I think it was originally created to combat, like, if you've ever read any history about like Typhoid Mary, I think it was like originally like, utilized for
people
people
that
who
didn't know
were,
they were sick
or like Typhoid Mary was like,
or new.
knew she was a carrier and continued to be a food service person anyway, and they
Mhm.
finally locked her up, and she was one of those cases where it was super duper weird. They locked her up for like 10 or 12 years without a trial, without any kind of due process. And then a judge ordered to let her go. And then she went out and did the exact same thing all over again, started a whole new typhoid epidemic. And then they were like, this is not okay. I think they may have even executed her after that because they tried her for murder or something,
They finally held her accountable because at that point she knew.
yeah, at that point you are a terrorist, I mean, there's no
Little
question
bit
about it.
she
But
knew.
basically they're going to
Right.
use that language to, so they were having that dialogue and that conversation.
So, I
And
mean,
like
how is that
25
different from somebody who's fully vaccinated, right? Who walks around
you said the V
as
word.
now a spreader, as a typhoid Mary? How are they
Yeah.
not accountable for spreading sickness to everybody?
Yeah, exactly. And hey, now medical professionals and teachers, they only have to quarantine for 5 days. So,
Oh, there's some states that are saying don't quarantine at all. We need you so badly. We don't care if you're sick and positive. You're going to work anyway.
exactly.
That's what's
Exactly. And
happening right
so
now.
you're just going like, what
Partially
kind of
because
craziness?
it's actually not that much of a sickness. And let's see, the new
Gonna get
data
us
is that
banned.
the CDC admitted that up to 40% of their numbers were people who either caught COVID or didn't know they had COVID at the hospital because they were there for other reasons. 40%, which then
You're gonna get
changes the
us.
numbers
You're
of
gonna get us.
efficacy.
You're gonna get us thrown out of
They're all lying.
the Facebook of suck.
I don't care what
I
fuckbook
know.
does.
I know. Anyway,
Um,
so yes, no, you're obviously you're very right. So anyway, what I was saying is the legislature in Washington got 25,000 emails and letters this week going, "Oh hell no." And all of a sudden, and so
they send feathers that they will be
they
using
they
this.
started backpedaling, going, "Hey, we were just going to talk about this law. We weren't actually planning to implement anything," and they were like backpedaling. So yeah, it was good. It was good. It was
Well,
exactly what was supposed to happen. Because let's just face it.
they should have been scared to even introduce such a thing, but
You know the difference between America and Australia? Here, I'll show it to you. It's right here. It's right here. It's this thing right there. It's that thing on Phil's screen, and it's this thing right here. That is the difference between America and Australia. There are going to be people that are going to go, no, you don't get to take me out of my home. You don't get to take me to a facility that I don't want to go to. I'm happy to quarantine right here. And you're going to catch a whole fistful of hot stuff if you try to make anything bad happen like that. Okay.
But they can restrict your travel.
They can restrict your travel.
They can restrict some of
Sure.
your rights, on.
They could put a deputy
public
at the end of your
places,
driveway and make sure you don't cross
like
off your
that.
property.
They
Sure.
can do things like that, which is why you'd better have a pantry full of food.
Exactly. And on that note, I think it's a good place to shift to the bunker because go get your pantry stocked, guys. Like, make sure that you have enough groceries, enough food, minimum 3 months, 6 would be better. A year would be right. A year
It
would
depends
be
on where you
right.
live, right? If you live in Alaska, a 6-month interruption happens here every
Regularly.
couple of years.
Yeah.
We're in one of those right now. So
Yeah, absolutely. You better have your staples. You better have your staples in place, right? You know, I mean, if you're so Phil's supply chain's all broken off, right? Like we can let's extrapolate here. So his supply chain's all broken off. You better have your flour or your wheat berries to grind your flour. You better have your canned vegetables because guess where canned vegetables come from? They come from factories. They have to get trucked there. Right.
well, they're all sitting in Seattle who's whining and crying about the Megatron China flu and and snow. And so they can't do their jobs. So they're all getting paid to stay home because they're woke Seattle.
Seattle
so
melts when it snows.
They do.
Oddly enough, the snowflakes don't like snowflakes. Did you know that? It's very strange. They don't know how to run shovels.
Even though it happens
snowplows.
literally every year, they still can't handle it.
You should watch Gotham City. Gotham City just loses their freaking minds. They have no clue how to operate.
It's bad.
Go. Hey, Marsh. Thanks, buddy. Marsh says, good show, gentlemen. Thanks, Marsh. Appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for the encouragement. All right, so get prepped, everybody. Get your pantry stocked. Maybe if you need any equipment from Large Asian Nation, you should order it now.
In some cases, it's already too late.
Some places, it's already too late. That's exactly right. So get your business intact.
Make nice with your neighbors. Or
listen,
see what they have.
Want to extend love to our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much, Patreon supporters. You guys are the jam. We are going to be headed over to the bunker in just a few minutes. We usually take a little pate break, grab a bottle of water, and then we'll be over in Discord. But the only way that you can get the Discord link is by joining us on Patreon. Please think about helping out. We are going to have to make some purchases. If you've noticed, we have not been uploading the bunker because I have no place to put it. So we are going to have to upgrade our storage really, really shortly. I had a quick meeting with Mr. Porkbelly today, and we will hopefully be having an active website very, very shortly in the next couple of weeks. He's not, can't pin him down on a time. He's doing it for free. But he's a cool coder guy. And so
I can send him some swag.
Yeah, man.
He might get a package before you.
Well, we do love Mr. Porkbelly.
Backdoor membership section on a web page.
Well, in fact, actually,
swag showing up.
I'm gonna Venmo him a few months of bunker of Patreon.
Oh, that's the other thing that happened this week. No more Venmo.
Oh, no more Venmo?
$600 limit, or you're getting reported to the IRS. All your transactions will be reported to the IRS, and you'll be issued a 1099 from Venmo.
From Venmo.
So,
all right. Venmo's gone.
$600 in a year.
Venmo's dead to me. Well, then I just okay. Well, then everything. I'm already knocking on the door. I'm a couple weeks in.
You name it.
So does that mean PayPal too?
Federal law. It's the IRS passed that last year, and it went into effect this month.
Is that PayPal too?
Yes. It's actually all transactions.
But you can't
now.
get taxed for selling goods. Like if I'm selling a boat,
You're
I can't. It's not income.
It is assumed to be income until you prove the cost basis in your taxes.
Evil bastards. Evil bastards. On that
Remember
note,
we were all screaming about
let's
bank
piss
accounts doing that last year. They did it anyway.
Yep. Let's piss someone about that in the bunker. All right, everybody. We love you. We'll talk to you soon. Can't wait to see you next week. Phil, thank you for your help tonight. Appreciate you, buddy.
We're out.